as you know, there are no hot boys at Monta Vista. Okay, so like, do you think a girl like me would be taking speech and debate for the speech and debate? I don't think so. My friend, she told me that at speech and debate tournaments, there are so many Bellarmine boys. And if you have been to a Bellarmine mixer, you know what I'm talking about.
With so many fugly guys at Monta Vista, girls tend to ask guys from other schools. However, the government does try to encourage dating domestic goods.
Well, we try to make importing difficult by making people get guest passes before they come to their dances, but for me personally, I like those Bellarmine boys.
But more importantly, this focus on finding the perfect date to homecoming has had serious effects on other aspects of teenage life.
So, tell me about the trends you see in student behavior around dance season.
Oh gosh, that is one of the most arduous times for students. Around dance time, this is what I've experienced. The FRQ and DBQ scores just plummet. We all know that there's only 24 hours in a day, and the two most important things in life are studying for AP US History and getting ready for dance. So if they're spending more time preparing for dance, like buying roses and new dresses and new shoes and looking at themselves in the mirror and all of that stuff, then there's less time that they can devote to studying for AP US History, which we know is really the most important of the two.
So, you're saying that suitable FRQ scores make up the opportunity cost of investing so much time in your dance experience.
Absolutely!
Do you agree with the students' decision to put their dancing experience before AP US History?
No way, Jose! I mean, what do dances and flying hormones have to do with the price of tea in China anyway?
The great emphasis on date getting is considered by many to be frivolous and even unimportant. Many argue that the problem lies within the too high standards that Monta Vista girls hold. Some experts even say that there's a surplus and not a shortage of dates available at Monta Vista High School.
As we talk to more boys, we find that they were often rejected when dance season rolled around. Monta Vista girls have unusually high standards in what they consider hot.
Since many girls end up rejecting guys who aren't up to their standards or hot enough, they resort to what is known as inferior goods.
So last year I ended up rejecting 4 guys for homecoming because they weren't hot enough for me. But when word got out of what a witch I was, no one decent liked me anymore. So this year, out of desperation, I had to go out with a guy to homecoming as just friends.
In fact, consumption of inferior goods at Monta Vista, such as the just friends date or the fugly guy date, has gone up in recent years, with demand for normal goods hitting record highs. Normal goods being members of the opposite or even same sex who are in higher demand as they get hot.
I didn't used to be really hot, but then I joined water polo. And let me tell you, there's nothing more attractive than a guy in a Speedo.
Guys who find themselves hotter like this young man have more power to attract normal goods. This is a real income effect. Guys like these have no trouble at all getting dates or even having girls ask them.
Yeah, I guess I'm one of the coolest guys in school. Probably the coolest. I mean, girls are always chasing after me. There's just not enough of me to go around. You could say that the law of diminishing marginal utility doesn't really apply, but yeah, it's not easy being a highly demanded resource.
Fortunate men like Chris Moe are rare. For this reason, the government has set up a non-price rationing device to meet the high demand and low supply.
Just about to announce the winners.
We realized that the number of eligible dates were outnumbered by the amount of people who wanted dates, so obviously the only way to fairly distribute the endangered hotties was through a lottery system.
It's kind of awkward at first being a prostitute for the date raffle, but after Alicia convinced me it was for the common good, it was kind of fun being a public good.
As the homecoming hype increases, it is important to know that Monta Vista is exceptional in the fact that askings are usually extremely extravagant. Therefore, girls have a very high standard when it comes to getting asked to a dance.
I walked all the way to 7-Eleven to buy her roses, but she still rejected me. She said it wasn't fancy enough.
At Monta Vista you have a small pool of children, and because Monta Vistans don't go out to other people's schools and basically beat the bushes for a date, the pool is relatively small. Since the pool is relatively small, greater extravagant gifts and rituals have to develop to attract that possible mate. It's much like a peacock showing their feathers.
Monta Vista is also different in the way that asks are not very direct. Guys and girls resort to subtle tactics and systems of friends who ask and gather information about prospective dates.
I was having trouble finding a date to homecoming. So when Sophia offered to ask Lillian, to ask Raymond, to ask Neil Kumar if he wanted to go to homecoming with me, I said okay.
This young female has been using the middleman in order to lower potential negotiation costs associated with going to homecoming. However, transaction costs still remain high with the cost of negotiations and enforcing contracts. So boys and girls debate alternatives. Should they ask their crush, yet risk being rejected? Or should they stay safe, yet dateless?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the GDP of homecoming dances. GDP meaning great dance party. Now, to have a great dance party, of course, we need government spending. Government spending in terms of DJ, in terms of decorations. And if we get the government spending and it increases, then what will happen is the consumers, the buyers of tickets, will buy more tickets. And if they buy more tickets, then they will invest more in the economy, buy manicures, dresses, tuxes, and of course my favorite, limousines. Now, to take all that into consideration, we have to go to our X minus M. Exports minus imports. Exports are people from Monta Vista going to other proms, such as those at Homestead, Limerick, or, God forbid, Cupertino. Imports being the amount of people coming from other schools, such as Mitty, St. Francis, Bellarmine, or Stanford. And we want there to be, in this case, a trade deficit. We want more imports than we do exports, because that makes a great dance party.
This formula for GDP, Great Dance Party, otherwise known as Gross Dance Party, is quite complex. However, don't get this confused with GDB, Gross Dance Behavior, which is frankly quite disgusting.
For those who are forced to restrict their romantic activity, often resort to freaking as a substitution for sex.
Oh my god, I can't believe someone asked him to homecoming. I was hoping he could go stag so I could just take advantage of him whenever I wanted to. That's what we do in FBLA.
Often, when endangered hotties go to dance as stag, they find themselves becoming public goods.
There they find themselves in the midst of freaking circles and orgies, as girls throw themselves at the boys in hopes of scoring some harmonic action.
But like any other public good, they find that their services are overstretched, resulting in the tragedy of the commons.
So I decided to go to the dance stag. But when I got there, there were so many girls, and they would all just come after you at once because they think they could do anything they wanted to you. And so at the end of it all, I mean, I don't know, there was nothing that I could do. There were so many. And now I'm just so tired, and I feel violated.
Females prefer private goods because they can only be freaked by one person at one time. This is the principle of rival consumption. However, this does assume that students are not into orgies.
Of 2400. Thank you for joining us this evening. Be sure to tune in next week for an expose on what really goes on in the boys' locker room. That's it for now. I'm Amy Young. Good night and good luck on tomorrow's FRQ.
Well, Amy, it's back to the studio. Well, I'm about to find myself some dating